On a beautiful day, it's Monday, April the 30th, 2018. We're due for some good weather. We're going to finally get some great weather this week, so get ready, get psyched for it. My friend and gentleman who we celebrated on Friday night at the Club 86, Judge Dennis Bender, is in the house today to talk about his retirement and what he's got in mind and talk about his history as a judge in Seneca County. He served almost 25 years, which is a, believe it or not, amazingly big-time record for Seneca County as far as years of continuing as a judge. Judge Dennis Bender is with us today. Welcome to Weber This Week. Well, top of the afternoon, everybody. It's H. Weber, otherwise nicknamed Dog. It's great to have you alongside. Judge Dennis Bender is in the house today, and of course, he's got a new smile on his face. He's got the kind of the, I'm happy not to have to go to court today and worry about piles and piles of paperwork and decisions. Judge, first off, congratulations on your retirement, and thanks for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure.
Listen, a lot to talk about. Let's talk about the party on Friday night. Myself and Mary had a great opportunity to attend. We wouldn't have missed it for the world. I thought it was an outstanding crowd. I thought a lot of your colleagues were there. Your family, of course, most importantly, were there. Your thoughts on that? It was really kind of overwhelming to you at certain points. I know when you got up to speak, you were a little choked up, but it had to mean a lot to you to have the people show up and congratulate you for all the years you put in here.
It did. I enjoyed it a great deal. I was hesitant about what I wanted to do, but the ladies at work said we're going to have a party, so they took it. They ran with it. They organized it. My wife had some input with it, but they did a very nice job, I thought. And I was touched by some of the comments, and it was good to see the people there and to speak with them. The downside, if you will, is I didn't get a chance to speak to everybody because there were a lot of people and moving around. That's all right. I just couldn't cover the whole room.
Well, the Club 86 is a phenomenal facility, as you know, and having been to many, many events. Myself and my wife got married there way back when, but it was just phenomenal. They do a great job. You know, I think of you, and I think of all the times I came to court, and I know that now you have a new look and a new outlook because now you're retired and you can look at things at home and maybe spend some more time with the kids and the grandchildren, et cetera, which we'll continually talk about during this program. What are your initial thoughts about, all of a sudden you're retired and all of a sudden you go in, put the black robe on, and you do your judge work, and it's got to be a little unique when you got up this morning, was it? For you anyways?
It was, but people have told me, and I think it's probably the case, it's going to seem like vacation for a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks even before it really sinks in. But it was on my mind immediately when I woke up. I woke up early, though. I was up at 5 o'clock. I slept very soundly last night, though. I think yesterday was probably draining. I was at the office, and just with it all happening, I slept like a rock last night when I went to bed.
Now, it's funny, ladies and gentlemen, Judge Dennis Bender, of course, my special guest today. He was kind enough to book this engagement when I called his office, knowing that we were going to be at his party, and asked him if he'd come on to my show today, and he's obviously here. But, it was kind of interesting. There's sort of ironic twists in life. As far as Judge Bender appearing on this program, this is the second time he's been here, and I was just for the heck of it over the weekend. I had a spare hour, and I had my phone, and I went back and archived this show, which is Weber This Week, and looking for Dennis Bender when he arrived. He came on this show, which is pretty ironic to me anyways, and really doesn't deal with him specifically, but another individual as well. He showed up on this show the first time I got him to come on, April 13th, 2015, which was 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that week, believe it or not, the high school basketball coaches were announcing their valuable players, the most valuable players in basketball, in the various sections of Section 5. And the coach of the year, April 13th, 2015, was a guy named Zach Young that Jimmy Senecropi and myself are very close to, a very good friend. And, of course, today, April the 30th, 2018, some 3 years later, Judge Bender is here for a second appearance, and they just announced the Coach of the Year over the weekend. Zach Young got it again. Now, I thought that was pretty ironic, to be Coach of the Year ironically, in the 2 times that you've been here. So Zach Young is kind of running a theme here.
Well, if you speak to him, if he wants me to come back on next year so he can win again, maybe there's a connection.
Oh, it's pretty. I just thought that was pretty interesting when I was going through the tape and listening to your interview the first time we had you on the air. Mm-hmm. Okay, some of the points that we want to talk about that I want you to give us your views on and what's going to happen. Since people have known you're coming on the show, they asked me to ask you to explain to the audience. I know there's going to be a bunch of judges that are being targeted to come in and take over your responsibilities. Mm-hmm. Explain, would you please, what's going to take place? Yes.
Well, first of all, there'll be an election in the fall.
Right.
There'll be a new judge elected who will take the bench effective January 1st of next year. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, there'll be judges coming from different areas to cover the caseload. We have a Supreme Court justice who will be coming from Rochester who will do the Supreme work. Mm-hmm. Rick Healy, who is a county court judge from Wayne County, will be covering most of the criminal matters. And there's a family court judge from Rochester, Judge Walsh, who will be coming down to cover the family court matters. Judge Cook from Yates County will be covering some of the matters as well. He does anyway, and he'll be doing the drug court for me. I don't believe I mentioned the name. It's Judge Doyle from Rochester, right. Supreme Court Justice. He's come to Seneca before to cover cases sometimes when we had some backlogs.
I met him the other night at the party. Nice guy.
Very personable man. Yep.
Very nice. So that's the way it'll work. What I also was thinking about, like, for example, in the recent Fegley trial you held and that Megan Peter prosecuted, she was found guilty by her peers. I don't know if you set a sentencing date of her, but where does that, I mean, as far as you getting involved in whether somebody's been found guilty by a jury trial or if you're ready to, hand out a sentence, like it would be today, you would have certain people that you would sentence, assuming, because I used to go there every Monday. How does that work regarding a trial? With the Fegley one as an example, does a judge who comes in, does the criminal, will they look at the case, the jury, the decision, and then make their own determination what the sentence is?
They will make the determination what the sentence is.
So you have no input in that?
That's correct.
Okay, I was just curious because people ask me to check that.
Sure. There's a report done by the probation department.
Okay.
All felony cases before sentencing, they must be done, and they give a lot of background. They give background on the case and on the person.
Okay.
And, victim impact statements, part of it if the victims, if there is one, wants to be heard. Okay,
I was curious because somebody asked me that over the weekend and said, well, what happens to, they mentioned the Fegley trial, and I said, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm sure, something must happen to keep the ball rolling.
Certainly.
So, while we're on that topic, now that you're retired, I can ask you this question, I'm sure. When you had a jury trial and a person got convicted and was found guilty, and you set a sentencing day, and let's say there's several weeks in interim between you announcing a date versus, how much of an impact do people's letters to you, and I'm sure you got some, either for leniency or for a worse penalty than you may consider? I mean, you get letters from people trying to get you to give a lesser sentence versus somebody saying, no, I want you to give them max. I assume that happens, right?
It does, not with every case by any stretch of the imagination, but you do get letters, and usually it's people that are looking for leniency, if you will.
Is that something that impacts you?
It can.
Okay.
It can. Depends on what's in the letters. It depends on what else there is as well.
No, I understand.
And sometimes, frankly, there's certain types of cases, depending on what it is or what the person's history, it may be mandatory. I send them to state prison, so they may be telling me that they shouldn't have to go to prison. They need treatment. Drugs ties them with so many cases now, and they may be right. The person may need treatment, but it may be mandatory. I'd send them to state.
Now, you mentioned state prison. Obviously, that's an offering that nobody wants to hear from you at the bench level. Instead of going down 96 to the sheriff's facility there. But they can only stay there for what, a year? Tim Luce's operation down there?
Well,
is that a year?
Generally speaking, county jails are where you go for offenses for which the sentence cannot be in excess of 1 year.
Okay.
Or rather is not in excess of 1 year.
Okay.
Now, having said that, there are exceptions to most everything.
Sure.
You can sometimes get 2 consecutive sentences, so you could conceivably be doing 2 years in a local jail. And having said 2 years, you get a third off for good time if you don't run into serious problems, which is usually the case.
Right. Okay. I was just curious about that because that's always been interesting because I know sometimes you have sent people there versus sending them to state, and I understand there's got to be mandates.
It has to be a felony for it to be a state sentence.
Well, listen, you know what's pretty interesting? Judge Dennis Bender is here on the Weber Show. We appreciate him spending some time. I want to go back on a great article that was written by Mike Hibbert regarding you in yesterday's Finger Lakes Times. You did a great job, Mike. If you're checking us out today, you did an outstanding job portraying the judge. One thing I found fascinating, having met your daughters and 3 wonderful young ladies, and of course I've known your wife for several years, and I didn't get a chance to meet your son-in-laws, but maybe someday I'll have that opportunity. What I found interesting in looking at your bio and looking at your education, that you had really a vision of becoming a priest, or you had thought process of becoming a priest. And is it safe to say on this show today, April 30th, 2018, that if you had not volunteered at the Rochester Interfaith Jail Ministry, that it's possibly you could have turned out to be a priest?
I think I probably would not have ended up in the priesthood
I was just
anyway.
Curious.
But that certainly had an impact on me.
I was just wondering.
And the name might be a little misleading. You say Interfaith Jail Ministry, It kind of sounds like proselytizing, but that was not it.
Okay.
We did more ombudsman work. We helped people with problems. We visited them in jail. If they needed things done with their family, we saw that they could get done in that. And frankly, the individual, however, got me very interested in that. Mark David Janis is a priest. He stayed in the seminary, interestingly enough.
That is something.
Law school is what I was drawn to at that time, and I decided that's where I belonged. Final analysis, God had another vocation for me. It was matrimony. I'm incredibly blessed with a very nice wife and 3 wonderful children, 3 wonderful son-in-laws, and 6 wonderful grandchildren.
You can't beat that. You know, really can't.
You cannot.
Well, listen, as we look at the fantastic career you've had in the legal profession, you're certainly involved. You're retired now, but you're involved in being the judge in Seneca County, and I'm sure you have thoughts about the court system as a whole, not just for Seneca County, but around the country. I've always been amazed. I think I've shared this with you when I was in your chambers previewing the interview that we did 3 years ago. I've always been amazed that somebody could be sent to the electric chair when they had that form of punishment by a 5-4 Supreme Court vote. 5-4. I always found that fascinating growing up because I told you I've always been enamored by the law. And I'm thinking, well, the vote came in, it's 5-4. You're still going to die. And I just think of courts, and I've always been crazy about Supreme Court listening to the oral arguments. As a matter of fact, they just had one recently about the ban that Trump put in, and they're examining that. And as a matter of fact, they usually keep them loaded up, and then they let you listen to them Monday nights, which is tonight, for last week's oral arguments. But they made an exception last week. They put it out there right after they went to chambers. Do you see the Supreme Court? I understand it's the highest court in the land. Do you ever have a problem thinking about it, or maybe you never thought about it? Why 5-4 vote can be so critical and so like it's a 9-0 vote, right?
Sure, I think about it. The law does evolve at times, though, depending on where society is. It's all wrapped around the Constitution, as it well should be, but reasonable minds can disagree on what it means.
Right. But it's always amazed me that these votes come out and you can win by a 5-4 margin. And I'm thinking of death row inmates, for example, I mean, they're fighting to keep them away from the death chamber. And
well, it's not the individuals with the 5-4. It's on whether or not the law, whatever is being applied, is constitutional.
Understood, yeah. And I've always been amazed, too, as speaking of Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas, who never really speaks at the high level, doesn't say much at all, never interjects his
thoughts. Not often.
Pretty amazing. And I've always been marveled at the fact that he must write some good, some good ideas when he decides to write. But it's pretty amazing. I guess and you've been as I've watched you, obviously in the Seneca court level, based on criminal court. It sounds to me when I've used to sit and watch you, not because I consider you a friend of mine, and the fact you come on this show is the fact that you try to be as fair and as objective as you can be, given the circumstances. And I'm sure you probably have a temper, and sometimes it probably shows when you get upset with certain things that happen there.
Fair
certain
statement.
things, certain things may happen that would get your ire up. But I think I asked you this before. I think fair and balanced would be a good adjective, the way you conducted yourself. You tried to be as fair as you could be, given the law that you had to enforce.
Well, thanks.
The parameters.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
It's what a judge is supposed to be. It's very different from being an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Attorney, you're an advocate. You're there to advocate for your client's position. You don't have to agree with it. That's the job. Judge sits in the middle, though. The judge's job is to be fair and impartial and to judge accordingly.
I think the public defender gentleman who was at the party the other night,
John Nabinger.
nice guy. Finally met him, shook his hand. I was amazed at how he does his thing.
Very good lawyer.
He's very good. And he really touched on what you had told him way back when. You gave him a little theory about the fact that your point with him was that you wanted to be sensitive to each client, but you had to deal with, I think he made a comment when he was up on the microphone. I can't remember exactly, but he was crediting you for giving him a tip way back when.
What he was talking about, he was in the prosecutor's office then.
Right.
He worked for the district attorney, and he was a very young attorney, and he was just arguing for a very harsh sentence in state prison. And I asked him, have you ever been to a state prison?
Yes.
They're not nice places. There are those that belong in them, but it's a very, or rather it is very much different in kind from a local lockup. It's not just a difference of degree, it's a difference in kind. And there are harsh environments. Again, there's those that belong there, but if there are other ways you can address a problem, it's worth thinking about.
I think you made a comment too relative to somebody complaining, and I used to be one of the ones that was complaining about, prisoners have cable TV, and you made the comment, but you can sit home with your clicker, only one person in the man cave, like I can, but they got to watch TV with 35 other people.
Well, the other aspect of that is it helps keep them more manageable, if you will. There wouldn't be anybody working in a prison that would think we ought to take the TVs away.
I agree. And they've had some issues at Auburn recently too, which has been sort of in the headlines. This is Weber This Week. Judge Dennis Bender, my friend and retired judge, Seneca County, almost 25 years on the bench. Pretty impressive. We'll talk more about what he's planning on doing in his spare time now, and I'm sure he's got a honey to-do list. I'm sure it's quite long.
Truly so.
Okay, we'll come back after we hear from our great sponsors to make this show possible. Del Lago Resort and Casino has something for everyone. 2,000 slot machines and 99 gaming tables. The Vine, featuring top national music and comedy acts. The dining options. The Great Portico by Fabio Viviani. The Farmers Market Buffet, the Social Cafe and Bar. And the 14,000 square foot European-style spa. Del Lago offers massages, body treatments, and facials, plus a full-service salon. Visit DelLagoResort.com for more information.
Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Gold Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. Learn more at thegouldhotel.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located on New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country, fresh, home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at McGeeDiner.com. The Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes is a child-friendly location where allegations of physical or sexual abuse are responded to by a multidisciplinary team of professionals. The team works together to conduct a thorough investigation and to provide necessary support services to children and their non-offending caregivers with a goal of minimizing further trauma to a child. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots are the perfect game collegiate baseball league, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com. Cicino's, live, laugh, eat well. It's the Italian way. It's also the Cicino's way. Visit one of their 3 locations, Waterloo, Geneva, and now at Del Lago Resort and Casino. Order online for pickup or delivery at Cicinos.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's H. Weber along with my guest today, Dennis Bender. Judge Dennis Bender is retired now, effective immediately. We're going to get to what he's got in mind, what his wife's got in mind for him. That's on the honey-do list. But before we go to them, I just want to run a couple of quick things by with Seneca Metals. They always have these great events out there, and these announcements are no exception. Coming up this Wednesday, May 2nd, Composting's a Snap. Does the thought of composting your family's food scraps feel a bit daunting? Come learn how easy it is, how easy it can be in the step-by-step demonstration. To register, give a call up to Seneca Metals, 315-539-5624. That's the Seneca Metals Educational Center. That's coming up this Wednesday, May 2nd, 6:30 to 7:30. It's a family type of event, and it's free. And don't forget, it's Mulch Day. It only comes once a year at Seneca Metals. A chance for your family to collect some earth-nourishing mulch in your pickup truck or container. They purchased the red and brown mulch from a local vendor and dole it out to you on a first-come, first-served basis. Check this out, folks. Each homeowner gets 2 scoops, all right? No registration required. Seneca County residents only. So you got to bring proof that you are a resident of Seneca County. That's coming up Saturday, May 5th. Kentucky Derby Day, by the way, 7 to 11 a.m. And that, of course, is also free, and it's also a family type. Well, back with my friend Judge Dennis Bender. Judge, I know that you are now officially on the hit list for getting notes from the wife. Before, you're probably headed out to court before she got up. But now, you may be getting up at the same time, or you get up earlier than she does. But the point is, she may have a few things in mind. You have something that's close by to get started on?
Oh, she does. Part of it's things we do anyway this time of year.
Sure.
Of course, working in the yard and all. And I'll do more of it this year because I'll have more time.
Right.
She does want me to convert a room into a den or a study for myself. The way she put it is she doesn't want me hanging around the kitchen with the Sci-Fi Channel on. She also gets tired of piles of books all over the house, which I tend to do. So I'll get working on that project.
Yeah.
We'll travel some.
Sure. Just to relax.
Yep, and I'll help her babysit some. She does a lot of that.
Oh, I know. And also I got to tell you, you're going to travel, but I'm sure you're going to hang out with your buddies too, because you talked about a camping. You love going with the guys on a hiking trip.
I do.
And I got to make sure I don't screw up this line. I probably didn't have it on my notes, but you made a comment, and let's see, where is that comment? I had it written down here too. It's about, here we go. A cup of coffee early a.m. over a fire in a campsite is the best tasting cup of coffee you could ever possibly have.
That's absolutely right.
And I would like to say I subscribe to that theory, but I'm one of these guys that if we don't get a paper at the door at 6 a.m., and if there's not a red phone in the room to call room service, I'm sorry, Judge. Everybody has a different theory on how they feel it's good.
Well, I made that remark as well.
Yep.
My wife, Joanne, and Barb, who worked with me, they all think that's indicative of some problems if you think sleeping in a tent is a good idea.
It's funny. I admire people that camp. I really do. I've always cracked up when I played at Seneca Falls Country Club on a continuous basis. I used to drive by there, and it was pouring rain, 94 degrees, and kids screaming, dogs barking, generator going. I'm going, how do they enjoy this? You know, it's got to be a certain individual who can handle that. But speaking of Joanne and Barb, and I know we don't want to leave anyone out, but you talked about that team and Joanne Reichel and, of course, Barb Roche and many other folks that were your backbone of that operation. I know you want to send out plaudits to them as well.
Absolutely. It's a team effort. I've said that to them every year. We get together at Christmas time, and essentially I say it with sincerity, even though it is a little repetitive, but can't do it without them.
No.
We're all cogs on a wheel.
Right.
Judge may have more responsibility ultimately, but he's not doing the job. And it's important to treat them and to realize that they are co-workers, not servants.
Exactly.
Not your employees.
No.
They play very, very important roles, everybody.
And I would be unfair if I did not mention that one part of his team in the court system that always mind-boggled me, and it still does to this day, when Gigi Ciotti got up the other day, and she brought a book up and was razzing you about, because is that a court stenographer called?
She's a court stenographer. She's retired herself.
Yes,
now,
I knew that. I knew that. But I got to be honest with you, there's not too many things in my lifetime. I just turned 73 yesterday. I got to tell you, Judge, there's not a whole lot that shocks me in this world anymore. But when I sat in your court, and I've been to other courts, and I see these court stenographers, and their fingers are going like this. And, you know, you've been known to talk kind of fast, and I can talk fast. And the attorneys certainly can go over the line talking fast. I'm going, how in the heck do these people get this information? And once in a while, I have seen you during trials or during arguments, oral arguments, or closing arguments, you'll tell the attorneys to slow down because Gigi might point up to you that she needs help. I'm always amazed at how they can capture that information.
I am too.
It's amazing. It really is. It just startles me. And to Gigi and all the, not just Gigi, I'm sure there's other people that are court stenographers around the area of checking out my show today. I bow to you. I'm amazed how you do that. It just,
well, they're typing in shorthand is what they're doing.
It's scary that you can capture all the information.
I used to joke, too, they're the one person in the courtroom with a visible talent.
It's pretty amazing. And, you know, it's important. Obviously, you got to have the information down, right? You don't want to miss it. Well, I got to send out kudos to anybody who's ever been currently a retired court stenographer, H. Weber, this show. I admire you. I certainly do. I think that's an amazing amount of work that you can do and get it done. So, well, listen, I know that we're closing up on about 28 minutes after the hour. Certainly, I appreciate you spending time with me this afternoon, talking a little about your career. And I know that it's going to be up, and away for you now. You'll have a chance to retire and smell the roses and be a human being without having to rush to court every day. And I can't only wish you the best of luck.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
And I hope someday that we can get together and I'll buy you a beer. And for me to say I'll buy you a beer is pretty amazing because Jimmy said I would never spend the money on buying anyone a drink, but I would make an exception for you. He didn't need them. But I'd like to catch up with you sometime down the road, see how you're doing. So
be my pleasure.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know, Judge Dennis Bender is going to enjoy himself, and he deserves it because, in my opinion, not because we're friends, I have been a court watcher, and I picked on him about the chairs, but that's another topic. We'll get to that some other time. But in all seriousness, I love the law. I love to watch. I see it unfold. I love to see how it happens to the attorneys and the judge and the jury and all that stuff. I love that. It's always been part of what I've done for 20 to 25 years. So I've enjoyed going up to see him and seeing his work. And have I always agreed 100% with his decisions as an onlooker? Absolutely not. You know, he wouldn't expect everyone to agree with every decision he's made. That's part of the dream of sitting there and listening. But he's the judge and he makes the decision. And I respect that. That's the way our system works. So to all the folks that supported him at a party of the night that we were so graceful to be at, we appreciate him, and he's done a great job, and I can't not say enough good things about Judge Dennis Bender, as he served almost 25 years, and I truly believe that's an historical mark that will never be eclipsed. So speaking for Judge Dennis Bender, along with my owner and outstanding engineer, Jim Senecrobe, this is Harold Weber, bidding you farewell. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the beautiful weather this week.